It's Tuesday of Holy Week. This day doesn't have a name like Palm Sunday, Maundy Thursday, or Good Friday. And because of that, we might miss some of what Jesus was doing on this day. And in fact, Jesus was doing a lot. This would be the last day of the ministry of Jesus before the plot to betray, arrest, and crucify him would be initiated. And what do we find him doing? Much like many of the other days, we find him teaching. I think that's actually a good name for this day, Teaching Tuesday. So on Tuesday of the Holy Week, Jesus was busy teaching the crowd as well as privately with his disciples. His teachings include parables, the things that would happen through the rest of the week, and even the end times. I'd encourage you to read these chapters today in the Synoptic Gospels. It's Mark, Matthew, or Luke, roughly following the cursing of the fig tree up to Judas's conversation with the Pharisees about his betrayal. But for a moment today, I want to focus on just one of his Tuesday teachings. It's found in Matthew chapter 22, verses 34 through 40. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they came together, and one of them, an expert in the law, asked a question to test him. "Teacher, which command in the law is the greatest?" He said to them, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the greatest and most important commandment. The second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets depend on these two commands." The Pharisees and the Sadducees, two religious groups intent on tripping up Jesus, but in his special way, he turned the tables on them. Earlier, the Sadducees had met their match when trying to corner Jesus, and here the Pharisees take their turn. There were over 600 laws that the Pharisees kept, and various religious groups founded on the keeping of laws would keep some of these laws and not others. The Pharisees hoped to get Jesus on the record so they could get the crowd that had been following him and his teaching so intently to turn on him so they could get rid of him. But Jesus doesn't answer their question in the way they had thought. Instead, he answers with the most memorized and recited verse in all of Jewish scripture, or what we know now as the Old Testament. It comes from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5, to love God with everything you have. He was pointing this out to the Pharisees, but it's very appropriate for us today as well. Unfortunately, many believers love God with some of their heart, part of their soul, or a portion of their mind, but not all of it. We follow God when we find it convenient or helpful to get what we want, but maybe not so much when times are tough or things don't turn out the way we wanted. And then he follows it up with another familiar teaching from the Old Testament. This one found in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. Love others like you love yourselves. Again, while said to the Pharisees, there's some very good application for us. Like the Pharisees, we typically have a pretty high view of ourselves. We enjoy looking down on others for a myriad of reasons, but Jesus encourages us not to think of others as less than us, but to love them the way we love ourselves. I've been visiting a local hospital over the past several weeks for treatment following the removal of a skin cancer. Each day I've been greeted by a young lady who runs through the screening questions that have become part of our entering process in many facilities. In giving me my sticker to wear that I've passed the screen test, I noticed she added a little note of encouragement. "You're strong," then went on my way. The second day, I noticed that this wasn't something she was just doing for me, but for every person that entered her world throughout the day. "You're a survivor. You got this. You're loved," are additional encouragement that I and others had received. As I continued to greet her each day and hear some of her story, I was blessed to know that she's a Christ follower and training to be a nurse someday. I also discovered that she'd lost her twin brother within the last year. This past Friday, as I was checking in, she shared with me that she wouldn't see me on Monday. "That's the date, 1 year ago, that my brother was killed," she said. "I'll be spending the day with my mother and siblings." My new friend has every right to be upset with God, with the world, perhaps even with me. But she's loving the Lord with all of her heart, with all of her soul, with all of her mind. And with her words of encouragement, she's loving her neighbors as herself. What would happen on this Teaching Tuesday of Holy Week if we followed these two very simple but life-changing rules? Love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. I do think it's really the basis for the entire gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ impacting the world today, especially my world, and hopefully your world as well.